After having their partner captured by a gang, Chip and Dale search for a crime boss who wants to modify their bodies to produce bizarre animated films. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers, from 2022. In 1982, at an elementary school, Dale, a third-grade squirrel, moves to a new school and is very excited about making new friends. However, when he is introduced by the teacher, no one cares about him, so the animal pretends to hurt his eye with a pencil and makes all the children cry. At lunchtime, no one comes near Dale, but another animal of his species called Chip sits at the same table as him. Over the next few months, the two squirrels become inseparable and take part in various things together, such as the school talent show, where they juggle. After graduating from high school, the two friends decide to move to California to act for television. They play small roles, but finally get their own show called Chip and Dale, Rescue Rangers, which consists of a group of detectives who solve crimes. The team of characters included the brave Monterey Jack, the inventor Gadget, and a fly called Zipper. After capturing a giant cat in one of the scenes, the actors celebrate the recording as they finish the third season of the show. After that, Dale got a role in a new series called Double O Dale, in which he will be the main character, who is a super spy. However, Chip is hurt that he didn't get the news sooner, as he is his best friend. What's more, the show Rescue Rangers could be cancelled because of Dale's new role. In fact, Chip is tired of playing roles alongside his partner because he's always the second choice. Sometime later, the show Rescue Rangers was cancelled and Double O Dale also left after the first episode. After a few years, the Rescue Rangers show returns with version 2.0. At a festival, Dale and some artists are waiting for their fans, but no one shows up to ask them for autographs. At the venue, Sonic meets some curious onlookers and there's also a talking candle, which burns the money he's accidentally won. There's also a tigress among the group of artists. Chip now works for an insurance company and leads an ordinary life. After arriving home, the squirrel calls for Millie, a puppy he has adopted. Suddenly, the squirrel receives a message from Monterey Jack, who needs his help because he's in trouble. When he arrives at his former partner's house, the rodent is abruptly pulled inside, as there are bandits guarding the residence. Monty is in trouble because he can't stop sniffing cheese, and this has led to a debt with the Valley Gang, of which the most dangerous animals are a part and have threatened to change Monterey's appearance if he doesn't pay up. During the modification process, one of the members of the group applies laser beams to the body of the victim, who is forced to make bad movies. Soon after, Dale arrives at the apartment and confronts his best friend. He claims to have undergone CGI surgery in order to change his appearance and get new roles as a result. What's more, he says that the show could return, but Chip doesn't care and leaves the apartment. In the dressing room of a recording studio, Dale tries to make friends with some men, but they make fun of him. Chip receives a call from his squirrel partner, who reveals that Monty has been captured and that the police need them to go to the victim's address, as they were the last ones to see him. Arriving at the apartment, Detective Putty collects the fingerprints from the crime scene and tells the squirrels that the men from the Valley Gang are smarter than the police, which is why they haven't been able to arrest them for years, even though they know that the boss is called Sweet Pete. A policewoman called Ellie talks to the detective and says she's a fan of the two rodents. The woman also reveals that the modification process takes around 2 days, so they have some time before their partner is transformed. However, no one knows the location of the factory responsible for the modifications. Dale tells Chip that they should investigate the case, but neither of them knows where to start. Then a stench of cheese catches their attention and leads them straight to the rubbish dump in the street, where they find the piece that was thrown from Monty's house. While picking up the food, they find the address of a cheese shop and decide to go there. So Dale drives a car adapted for squirrels and argues with his partner that he doesn't want to solve the whole case, just collect information and take it to the detective. The pair arrive in a place full of joy and animals on the streets, but there are dark secrets behind it all. When he finds the cheese store, Chip asks for the smelliest specimen Mr. Bjornson has, at which point the guy believes the two are undercover cops. Still, the squirrels say they just want to buy a piece of cheese. They manage to get into the back of the establishment, where there are several animals trying out the products. Before tasting the food, Chip shows him a photo of his missing friend and asks if Mr. Bjornson has any information about the animal. Dale tries to convince him to help, but he remains suspicious of the duo's identity, so he captures them. At the same time, the squirrels confess that they are actors, which gets the man interested because his boss Sweet Pete loves them. Bjornson ties them up and puts them in a truck full of cheeses. They are taken to the Uncanny Valley, a place where the design of people and animals is bizarre, as it is inspired by the animation style of the 2000s, which tries to make the drawings more realistic. The cheese man knocks on a door and says he has a present for Sweet Pete. A dwarf appears and talks to the squirrels, looking at the horizon in a bizarre way. Soon after, he invites them into the factory, which is just a place where the boss dismantles unsuccessful toys in order to use the material to make other utensils. The two partners are then thrown into a room where they meet an old-looking Peter Pan, revealing him to be the real Sweet Pete. Jimmy, a giant polar bear, releases the pair of friends, who make an offer to the boss to pay off Monty's debt and get the animals' freedom. Peter Pan ignores the proposal and tells his life story. He has grown old and the industry no longer wants him as an actor. Faced with this situation, he was forced to produce his own movie called The Flying Bedroom Boy 2, which was very successful and made millions. Peter decided to open a recording studio and made several similar films with other movie stars who were rejected. Sweet Pete says he's interested in relaunching the Chip and Dale show, but first he needs to modify them, so he orders the giant bear to capture the two animals. At the same moment, they run away from the animal's giant paws and climb onto its head, grabbing the fan on the ceiling. From the fan, the squirrels jump into a bathroom at the side of the room, where they are locked in as enemies press on the door. With no way out, they think about what to do while their opponents throw weapons at the door. Dale decides to go down the toilet, but his partner cleans the toilet before running away. They reach the sewer where a very strong current carries them downhill, into a manhole full of garbage and toys. Suddenly, Dale's phone starts ringing and he says he has to answer it because it might be his agent, but it's actually just his mother. Seconds later, they try to hold on to a doll's hair, but the object doesn't hold and snaps. The pair approach a cliff full of spiky garbage, and grab onto a yo-yo that throws them back up, allowing them to climb up the pipe to the surface. Chip gets up first and finds a lifeless squirrel in a puddle. He cries because he believes it is his companion, but Dale is by his side without any injuries, and the one in the water is just a stuffed animal. After that, the squirrels meet up with Detective Ellie and plan to steal Sweet Pete's step-counter watch to trace a route to where Monterey might be. The woman can't help much because the captain doesn't trust her, since in one of the investigation cases the policewoman fell for a false lead. Dale opens the garage door and reveals several items from the Rescue Rangers show, which they can use in the mission. Chip is surprised that his partner has kept all that material, since he believed that he hadn't cared about the program for a long time. The two squirrels then plan to dress up as plumber mice to infiltrate Sweet Pete's gangsters. The pair prepare to break into the boss's hotel and Ellie stays behind watching everything through the cameras. At the reception, they tell the attendant that they've come to fix the pipes, and the man lets them in. As they pass the bathroom, they meet the dwarf, who doesn't recognize them, but when the man turns around, they run away. In this way, the squirrels run over the pipes and observe all of Sweet Pete's henchmen, who are in a bathroom just ahead, storing his watch in the closet. At that moment, Dale drops part of his disguise, but the boss doesn't notice and steps on the mask. They get down to the ground, believing that there is no one there. However, a snake interrupts them and tells them that he knows them from the show Rescue Rangers, and that he's a big fan of the duo. Faced with the situation, Dale tries to wind up the snake by singing a rap. In this way, Chip manages to reach the closet. The snake realizes they're doing something suspicious the moment the squirrel enters the password for the locker. So Chip starts singing too and his partner goes into the locker to steal the watch without the enemy noticing. After stealthily leaving the lair, they connect the watch to the computer and discover one of the locations the boss frequents, the St. Peter's docks. When they arrive on the scene, the entire police team prepares to break down the door of the warehouse and cautiously invade. Detective Ellie discovers a suspicious laboratory with drawings of modified animals on the wall, including a Garfield with muscles. What's more, he finds the machine used to make the modifications very similar to the one used by Dale to change his look to CGI. After turning on the lights, Chip presses a button on the computer and the doors start to close, so the two are locked in a machine and the policewoman can't get them out. Ellie warns them that the machine will re-edit them and that they should avoid it. On the computer, the policewoman looks at the various design options that the machine suggests. Meanwhile, the two squirrels are captured by the device that aims lasers and chainsaws at Dale. But Chip manages to break one of the wires with his tooth, which frees his partner. Soon after, the rodents are taken to a catwalk full of lasers, where they begin to dodge and slide. They hold on to the lamps on the ceiling and juggle until they pass through all the lights. However, Chip ends up touching one of the lasers, which turns his ear into a Snoopy-like one. The squirrels get out of the machine and find various parts of cartoon characters, including Monty's mustache, concluding that he has been modified too. After the police have thoroughly searched the place, Peter Pan and his henchmen watch from afar and plan to capture Chip and Dale. The boss begins to follow the pair on social media as a way of keeping tabs on them. At the same time, the two go to the Los Angeles Police Department and Dale tells his fans over the phone that he will be at FanCon in the afternoon to sign autographs. At that moment, Chip gets stressed because he believes that his partner is only thinking about himself. As they argue, they smell a strange odor of almond butter mixed with gasoline, reminiscent of the stench of the Rescue Rangers colony. They start sniffing and realize that the scent is coming from the captain's office, which makes them flee the police station, since Monty was the only one wearing the perfume, and that means someone was there with him. Chip believes that they need the FBI's help, so they look for Sonic to ask him for help, as he knows people in the police. In fact, he doesn't know anyone at the FBI, and is just stringing them along. However, the rodents realize that they are being sought by Jimmy right now. The pair blend into the crowd, getting in the way of the actors and climbing on mini ponies. Soon afterwards, they hide under a table, but Dale steps on He-Man's foot, who realizes that there is someone down there, alerting the dwarf, who immediately bends down to look for the squirrels. Before they can grab something to disguise themselves, the fans end up recognizing the protagonists of Rescue Rangers, and alert Peter Pan, who tries to run but doesn't succeed. Now the bear and the dwarf start chasing the pair, who jump over the structures. The enemies throw an axe straight at them, and it narrowly misses them. They continue to flee, but the bear recognizes one of his idols and gets distracted. Then the squirrels manage to get into the elevator, but the dwarf is ready to hit them. Lumiere, the candle, throws flames in his opponent's face and the tigress holds him back, so Chip and Dale make it to the parking lot, where the polar bear catches up with them. He uses a bag to capture Chip, and his partner doesn't realize what has happened, but manages to hide from the enemy after reaching the surface. Later, Sweet Pete prepares to modify the captured squirrel, only to be interrupted by the policewoman, who pulls a gun on the man. Just then, Captain Putty appears and threatens her with his pistol, revealing that he is part of the gang. What's more, the boss confesses that he did it all for the money. Dale receives a call from Ellie, who says she knows how to rescue her friend because he's in the factory, and asks him to go there, but the squirrel doesn't know that she was forced to say this by the bad guys. She then indicates her favorite episode of Rescue Rangers, to give Dale a clue. He realizes that this is an obscure episode, so he starts watching it to find the secret message. In the episode, one of the detectives is arrested, so he associates it with reality and defines that Ellie has been captured and her captain is the henchman disguised as Sweet Pete. Dale gets ready to leave in his car, but it doesn't work, so he decides to ask his friends in the cast for help. The squirrel meets Zipper and Gadget, who get some kind of helicopter for the mission. During the journey, Dale receives a call from his agent. The man believes that the actor has many opportunities, since he is now famous. However, the rodent refuses the offer as he is too busy and has other priorities now. Before landing at the factory, Dale gets on a mini rocket and shoots towards the lair, destroying everything in front of him and striking a blow against the polar bear. At the same time, Chip is about to be modified by the lasers, but the uncontrolled rocket hits the machine straight on and stops the procedure. The rodents talk, only to be interrupted by Sweet Pete, who captures Chip again to modify him with an eraser. The two squirrels try to convince him not to attack, but they don't succeed. Suddenly, all the metal objects are attracted to some kind of magnet and the machine's temperature suddenly rises, causing it to explode. The device continues to move and fires laser beams at Jimmy, who is transformed into a small bear with wings. What's more, Sweet Pete is shot several times and transformed into a giant monster with a cat's head and metal parts. Meanwhile, Ellie chases her former captain, who flees the scene in a hurry. Peter Pan tries to capture the squirrels, who arrive at a place where there are several small studios for recording modified films. Ellie sneaks around looking for the captain and realizes she's without her gun. At that moment, Putty lunges at her, delivering blows that knock the woman to the ground. He then starts head-butting the policewoman in the face, but she manages to fight back. The pair of squirrels continue to flee from Peter Pan, jumping on a flying carpet to get out of one of the scenes while being shot at by the man. On the other hand, Ellie locks herself in a tool room, but Captain Putty manages to modify his body so that he can pass under the door. At that moment, the policewoman throws a weapon and hits her boss full in the face, but his body is made of modeling clay, which allows him to regenerate at the same moment. The guy lunges at her once again, so Ellie uses a railing to press against his head, and the man manages to recover. The policewoman then uses a fire extinguisher to freeze Putty and pushes him to the ground, causing his body to break. At the same time, Chip and Dale get close to the sea, then hit each other over the head with a piece of metal, and the enemy gets closer and closer. Suddenly, several birds appear around them and this distracts the enemy, allowing the pair to climb onto a crane. Sweet Pete is ready to attack again, but Sonic appears and catches his eye, so the squirrels manage to press the button on the machinery and a charge is unleashed on the monster. At the same moment, the FBI arrives to arrest the creature, but he manages to get up at the last second and fires a cannonball at Chip. But Dale steps in and receives the projectile instead of his partner. The squirrel mourns the loss of his friend, but gets up after a few minutes. Soon after, they smell something strange and realize it might be Monty's, so they follow the stench to a truck. After opening the door of the vehicle, various modified animals come out, and finally they meet Monterey Jack, who now has giant ears, but this can be reversed. The cast of Rescue Rangers meets Ellie and they all become friends again. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.